Welcome to the Addiction Connection podcast, connecting the hope of the gospel with the heart of addiction. I'm your host, Mark Shaw, and today I am joined by a very special guest, Miss Shirley Crowder. Hi, Shirley.
Hi, Mark. How are you today?
I am just dandy, and even better now that I'm talking to you.
You're kind.
I might be lying too, but
You're right.
No, I'm kidding. I could say that, you couldn't, but you would, I know. So, well, no, it is great. Anytime I get to talk to you is a good day from my perspective. So, just because you're such a dear friend, I consider you a sister. So it's more than friendship, and I always am thankful for you, as is Mary. We just love you, and are grateful that God sent you our way. In fact, this will surprise you. We went to do some estate planning, talking to an attorney and that kind of thing, and they asked us, about someone who's not named Shaw. Who would you want to step in and help with this or that? And Mary's first, she looked at me and she says, Shirley. So that's where you are on her pecking order. I didn't pick you first. I'm kidding around. But Mary did, and that's all that matters. She's the one that matters. Oh, I'm getting zany. Well, one of the reasons I'm so excited is we have a special announcement today, and this is exciting for me. I think it's exciting for you too. And why don't you tell them what our big announcement is?
Right. Well, today is what we're calling our launch day for the very first book that the Addiction Connection has published. And it is one that I'm totally unbiased about, by the way, Mark, that is written by Dr. Mark Shaw and by me. We were able to collaborate together on it. And it's called Advent Meditations for Addicts. And this has been such a fun project to work on for me. And just to give you a tad of history, I had the very first idea about doing an Advent guide I found a note from 2014, the first thing I wrote about it. And I've been trying to figure out what to do with this Advent guide. And it was, Mark, maybe 3 months ago? 4?
I think so.
3 months ago that I woke up in the wee hours of the morning and I thought, wait a minute, are there any Advent guides for addicts to use and transformed addicts? And so I got online and looked, and I didn't find any. So I talked to Mark that day, and I said, I got a project for you. And so, would you like to write this with me? And so we're just thrilled. I'm thrilled for several reasons. Number one is it's the first time Mark and I have collaborated on a book, although we've both been contributors to Paul the Counselor. But this was fun to work on, and I don't know that Mark really wanted to, but when you're a sister, you can kind of twist someone's arm.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Sisters have a way of doing that.
So it's been a fun project to work on, and not only that, but just as I've worked on it and done parts, and you've done written parts, and then we've tried to pull them together and mesh them and make all the different components of it just flow well. And we've had folks read it for us and give us suggestions, and then super editor Mary got a hold of it and even refined it more. So we're grateful for that. But we just hope and pray that the Lord would be pleased to use this to help folks focus their minds on Christ and on His coming. Of course, His first coming, the correct celebration of it, but also of His second coming.
Advent Meditations for addicts. I love it.
Yes, yes.
I mean,
We,
nobody else is crazy enough to do something like this, Shirley.
well,
But we are.
yes, we are. And so when I had the original idea, I wanted it to be a little different from the ones I've had guides I've seen before. And so we start every chapter with an Old Testament prophecy, and then we tell the New Testament fulfillment. And I think that's so important to show people that God said it was going to happen. His word is true, and here's where it happened. And I like starting out with that.
Yeah,
so setting the groundwork.
Well, let me do the very first one. It's the
Okay.
Old Testament prophecy. Can I do that? Can I give this away?
Sure.
The Old Testament prophecy in Isaiah 7:14, it says, "Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. See, a virgin will conceive, have a son, and name him Emmanuel." And of course, my favorite name for God is Emmanuel because it means God with us. He came to be with us, and he's not some distant God that we can't know. I mean, obviously we can't know him totally in all his splendor and glory, but he wants us to know him and to be known. And so I love that name. So that's the Old Testament prophecy. But then the New Testament fulfillment in the very first chapter is when the time came to completion, God sent his son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those under the law so that we might receive adoption as sons. That's Galatians 4:4 and 5. And so that's the fulfillment of that Old Testament prophecy.
Right. And in every chapter, we're asking questions along the way to help you sort of interact with the biblical truths. So, and think about what it would have meant to the people in the Old Testament when they heard that Isaiah passage, to know that God with us is coming and going to be here, and to be looking forward to it. And then when you get to that fulfillment, it's like, whoopee, he's here.
Yeah. Well, and you did that, the questions along the way, and then you added carols and songs,
Right.
by the stanzas, line by line, for the reader to reflect upon. Carols that they would recognize, like "O come, Emmanuel."
So what I wanted to do was kind of talk about just use the different aspects, the different liturgy, which is just the system, the things you use to help you worship.
Yep.
So we talk about the candles of Advent and what they mean and how they represent, overall the light of the world coming to earth. And then different carols of Advent. And of course, I love music, so I'm going to have music stuff in.
Yes.
Then just things specific for the addict, like the devotional thought and teaching for the addict. And then what I'm calling a hymn of response is, now that we realize all that good stuff about God and what he did and sending his son, what are we supposed to do? And so what we do is that we sing praises. It's at on the chapter we're on there, it's called Celebrate Advent. It says, how do we respond to the announcement that Christ, our blessed Lord, our blessed hope, is coming? We sing our prayer of longing for him to come. And there's a wonderful, wonderful hymn called Even So, Lord Jesus, Come. As the hope of all our hopes to some, take thy waiting people home. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a suggested prayer. Sometimes people don't really know how to pray, what to say to God. And so this is like just a guide. We hope that they won't just okay if they choose just to say these words out loud and pray, but we hope that that'll be their guide. And then we have a little quote from somebody, a Christian, about whatever the different chapter is that we're talking about. And then we add some supplemental scripture readings so that you can go a little further than just the few verses that we may quote of something. And then I also added short biographical information about the writers of carols and the hymns.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so after that, this is a little different than some because instead of starting 4 Sundays before Christmas, we start 5 because of that introductory, what does it mean to celebrate Advent? And there are many who likely will be reading this that didn't grow up in the church. And so some of this stuff may be foreign to them. So we wanted to be sure we took enough time to explain it to them. And so then we talk about all the different candles that are used in the Advent celebrations, the candle of hope. And so each chapter, then we have all those parts, the prophecy, the fulfillment, the carol, all the way through. And then we have the supplemental things also. And then...
Well, who doesn't want more of Christmas, more of the Advent season? So to start 5 Sundays out with 5 candles, it's just great. And then Mary and I couldn't get over, how did you do the artwork to make each candle lit? I mean, that there's all this great stuff in there, and Mary and I are stuck on, how did she get that one candle to be lit, and then the second, and the third, and so forth. So we were kind of stuck on that.
I can't tell all of my secrets.
Yeah, don't tell us that. We'll wonder about that till we die. That'll be the first question we ask the Lord.
Few of my gray hairs probably related to that. But one of the things that we did, not only did we have the Christ is here, Christ is come, but then we added another chapter, which a lot of the Advent guides will have the Christ is come for Christmas and talk a little bit about the second coming. But instead of that, we added another whole chapter about Christ is coming back, and we called it His Glorious Return. And that, to me, just kind of puts the bookmark from the beginning, first Advent, to looking toward the second Advent. Yeah. And one of the things that I incorporated the last year that my mom was alive, and that she and I had Christmas together, Advent, and she had gotten an idea somewhere, I don't know where. You know my mom, Mark. You knew her, so you know.
Yeah.
She didn't think like normal people, which is a good thing. But
she is a unique. She was unique. She is unique. There will never be another one like her. You're close. You're close, but you're
nowhere near. But she added, we had our Advent wreath with our 4 candles with the Christ candle in the center, the 5th one. But she added a green candle that she just put right beside it, and she called that the second coming candle. And I loved that idea. Mm-hmm. As far as I know, she's the only one the only ones who've ever done that. And I hope that this adds to as people read it, because it just carries that thought a little further so that you're focusing your mind. You don't just get to Christmas and go, oh, okay, Jesus is here, we're glad, bye. And just kind of keep going.
Right. Yeah, so, it's the second coming that focus too. I love being a part of this, and I appreciate you asking me about it and to contribute and do my little part. I mean, you did 95% of it. I feel like I kind of just riding your coattails on this one, but I love doing
Not
my
quite.
part.
Well, the thing I knew, of course, the thing Mark, when you write with someone, is you have to be sure that theologically that you're on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
That you're then for something like for addicts, you have to both define addiction the same way, that it's not a disease, but that it's a sin. And then, as long as you've got that, you just sit down and write it. And so I actually pulled out last night the very first sort of sketch with some of the writing and stuff. And it looks so different from what it is now. And I'm so pleased that the Lord has enabled us to do this and given us the not only the opportunity, but just the honor to think about how to help others focus on Christ during the Advent season. So I'm excited, and I just, the more I see it and the more things that happened and the more someone would make a suggestion or ask a question about something, and I'd go, oh, wait a minute, I need to do this over there. And so I'd go over somewhere else and make a change, and add to it. So I'm excited. It's going to be available, or it is available today on Amazon.com in print and ebook. So the title again is Advent Meditations for Addicts, and like Mark E. Shaw, and Shirley Crowder.
I like that E.
Yeah. And so I'm just kind of speechless in the can't quit talking sense. Have you ever heard of that, Mark?
I have not. Kind of.
Okay. Kind of. People always say I'm just speechless, and then they just keep on and on because they're so excited.
Keep talking, right? That's right.
So I'm speechless, but I can't quit talking. And so I'm just so excited, and our prayer in this is that the Lord would be pleased to use it to bring the hope and the peace and the joy and the love of Christ into the hearts of the people who read it.
Amen. Well, the added feature of people like John Chandler and Thomas Kelly and the others, I mean, that's such a neat touch. There's just so many neat aspects to this. And I know we wrote it for people who've struggled with addiction, but I really think anybody will benefit from this book and be blessed by it. And the fact that it's available on Kindle or in print is just exciting to me. And it's unique. It's unique. And looking at all the scriptures you mentioned at the end, it just blows your mind at how much scripture is in this little book, how much is packed in there and taught. And it's a reflection book where you reflect on things and think about things, but you're really reflecting on Christ and you're thinking about him. I think you and I have talked over the years about how people sometimes hear sermons or hear teaching, but they don't really connect the dots to their own heart. And I think this book helps people to do that, to think about the Advent season and what, hope and peace and joy and the different what different aspects there are in that to reflect on. But because you're reflecting on Christ and what he's done for you. And that was the fun for me. I mean, as I wrote one of the chapters toward the end, I didn't write the whole chapter, but my piece of that chapter, I was listening to music as I was writing, which I know not everybody does that. I don't always do that, but I like multi things going on. And so I'm listening to this song, and it's called Clean. And and the lyric is, I'm clean because you promised me I'm clean. And just the, and as I was just listening to that song and writing this and thinking about this, reflecting on my own sin and how God's cleansed me of unrighteousness, I just began to weep. And I don't know that I've ever done that with a book that I've written, other than when the editors tear chapters out, I cry then. But I did. This was a different kind of cry. This was a cry of worship, and it really touched me because I was reflecting. I was doing what the book was telling me to do, and I was reflecting and thinking about that song, and just it all kind of piled on me and hit me, and it was so powerful and so great to just be in that place where incredible love of God that was expressed in this Advent season that we're reflecting upon and thinking about his amazing grace and his mercy and his love. I mean, it was powerful. So that's never happened to me before in a book, and it happened in this one as we were finishing it up, the last part of it. I just, oh my goodness. And so to be a part of this, it's just been really special. And you did the lion's share of the work. I kind of feel bad because you just put this all together, but that's your gift, and just organizing, administration, putting things together, thinking through things really well. And you do it so well and so quickly. And I can't do a lick of that sometimes, but I just saw where I fit with this and said, oh, I can do this part. And it was just exciting. So anyway, glad.
And then, once your part was written, then that enabled me to, think back through the other parts and, make it kind of flow better and make all the pieces fit a little better. And so, it's been a fun process. It's been a hard process. It's been a butt kicking process for me. The Holy Spirit kicking my butt.
Is that in the Bible that the Holy Spirit does that?
I don't know if sports enough to say what kind of kicker he is. Kickers is something besides soccer, maybe football, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
But when I was doing the hymn of response for the chapter named God's Boundless Love, which is actually the title of a beautiful, powerful hymn that a guy with a strange name, Malt B. D. Babcock, wrote. And as I was working through it and writing it, and just thinking of the ways that he talked about God's love, and that became one of the questions or interactions that we did. It says to go through the stanzas and tell us what one of the characteristics of God's love. And so in the stanza it talks about God's boundless love, God's tireless love, God's changeless love, God's mighty love, God's endless love. And so writing those out, and then what does each one of those actually mean to us? That God's love is boundless and changeless. Oh my goodness, endless. There's numerous times throughout. Of course, I cry all the time, but I just was in tears just thinking of God's grace and mercy to me. And that's some of what I hope comes through as folks are working through these. So if you go to Amazon.com and look for it, we'd love for you to get a copy. And if you know someone who's struggling with addiction currently, or who has been, or just anybody, because it really, even in the parts that specifically say, something celebrate Advent for the addict, or whatever those parts may be, it's for all Christ followers, because sin is sin, regardless of whether it's an addiction or any other sin.
That's right.
Well, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that's the important message. It's a book for anybody, and because we don't supersize addiction as some super
Right.
sin that only a special category of people have. We wrote it
Exactly.
for them specifically, but we also know the principles, the ideas, the
Mhm.
worship is directed at every follower of Christ, and
Right.
I love that. We got some great endorsements. We probably have a couple more on the way, but Dr. Howard Eyrick wrote an endorsement. He also wrote a foreword for
Oh
us,
yeah.
which is so great.
Of course, Dr. Eric is someone very special to both of us,
Yes.
um, and we've both benefited from his teaching and his mentoring and training and disciple making, and we've been able to minister alongside him, and so that's been a great thing. Also, it's just amazing that God chooses to use two crazy people like Mark Shaw and Shirley Crowder. You notice I put your name first. That means you're craziest.
That's right.
But to use us for his kingdom and to put us together with other people who love Jesus, not perfectly, but love him and strive to serve him and want to
Yeah,
help him. And it's just very cool and lots of fun 99.9% of the time.
it is. Well, and Dr. Bill Hines endorsed it, which
Mm-hmm.
he's the chairman of the board of the Addiction Connection. And Tim
Right.
Keeter, an elder, we both love Tim. Tim's been through a lot in his life and is just such a beacon of light, such a wise man. And to have those
Yeah.
guys,
Mhm.
endorse it's been a blessing.
Yeah. So, and I told Mark I'd give him, we've got our Addiction Connection Leadership Summit coming up in a couple of weeks. I told him I'd give him till that's over with before we have to start thinking about doing an Easter one, because I want us to do an Easter one too.
Oh my. Oh
Oh
man.
my! I turned you
Oh
on the podcast, so you
yeah.
couldn't react too badly.
Yeah, we might have to edit that out, my reaction. I love to write, but I'm so it's yeah. Well, we'll cross that bridge. Oh, that's funny. Well, and the neat
podcast.
yeah, you got me on that one. I got me speechless in a different way. Well, the neat thing is TAC, the Addiction Connection, is publishing it, and 50% of the proceeds go to the ministry, which is just great. I just love that, and so.
And I hope this is only the first of many. We've talked about through the years of several ideas for books, and they're just this testimonies and stories of God's grace that need to be told.
Yeah.
Teaching that needs to be done from some unique perspectives of people from people all over the world, not just in the States. So I'm hoping this is the first of many, Many, not Mini. I don't think you can understand my Southern accent.
Well, the name of the book is Advent Meditations for Addicts, written by Shirley Crowder and Mark E. Shaw. And I love that E in print. But I would encourage our listeners to order copies. I'm going to give it as a gift to a large group of people in my life that I can't wait for them to read it and to have it. I'm excited too. And so this special podcast was designed to be the launch date of this book, which I think will be a blessing to many. Many, not Min, just like you said. So thank you for including me on this project and for doing the lion's share of the work on this, Shirley. You really, you made it really simple and easy for me. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for making it good.
Well, thanks. Well, I want to thank Shirley for being on this podcast today, and I know she'll join me on another day. And thank you all for listening to the Addiction Connection podcast. Grab a copy of Advent Meditations for Addicts on Amazon.com, and we look forward to you joining us on the next episode. Take care and God bless.